Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Feliz miércoles, feliz quarta-feira. Happy hump day, happy pump day, all that good stuff. All right, for hump day today, I did some curls in the squat rack. Broke that cardinal rule. But anyhow, today did bench press, still working on the shoulder, still trying to get it to behave, working on the trap. So lots of banded work. And went back to an old standard, which is the ramping sets of 5. And I tell you what, those things, brilliantly easy, brilliantly obvious that we should employ things like that when we're training. Bill Starr was kind of the first guy to, I think, put it to paper. You're going to start with this thing, you're just going to increment up and do 5 set to 5 and be done. And didn't really necessarily spell out what the increment should be, but which I think is kind of good. For me, it's just going up in 10 pounds. I could go up as little as 5 pounds. Kind of how you feel, what the lift is, that kind of stuff. Can be small increments, and so that's what I did today. So like 135, 145, 55, 165, and then one to 175. And that was enough. That was my 5x5. And the 175 was not easy. The shoulder is, it's being a little gimpy. It's being a little bit mean. So yeah, that's what I did after some banded work. So that kind of brings me to something I want to talk about today, which is, because, if you look at me and my physical size and what I look like, you're like, oh, this guy benches well over 300 pounds, which I used to. But anymore, right? It's, I'm barely benching anything at all, right? Stuff that I used to be just fly through warmups, those kinds of weights. And now I'm kind of struggling to keep everything nice and locked in so that I'm not getting a ton of pain. I might be able to lift more if I just threw caution to the wind and pushed through the pain, but I know better than that now that I'm over 50. But, there's not much I can do now other than just work around it. But again, that brings me to the idea, like we look at people like, oh yeah, that person must be able to do these things or those things. And we don't know. You can't judge a book by its cover. You don't know where a person's at with injury or what their training looks like or what their genetics look like or what their goals are, all that kind of stuff, which, that comes with a lot of other things, right? We look at people and like, oh man, that person's got their act together. And sometimes they're struggling too. I've been in situations in my life where it's like, yeah, that guy's got everything going on. And so, man, I'm barely keeping it together. And I know a lot of other people like that too. So where's that got me? That's got me in the idea that we need to be kind of like we are in real life, hopefully, right? We see people. Sometimes we can tell someone's going through a tough time. It's kind of obvious and we're compassionate. But sometimes it's hard to tell. You see a person, they look well put together, they got themselves polished, but they're struggling too. So we need to be compassionate. We need to listen. We need to give that person a chance to articulate their situation to us. The same way in the weight room, in the gym. You can't necessarily look at a person and expect them to have, a 400-pound squat or 600-pound deadlift or a 300-pound bench or whatever it may be, because you don't know what kind of injury they might be suffering from, what their training goals are, whatever's going on with them at that point in life, and what they're working through and what they want to do. So you just kind of have to go in there with almost this laissez-faire attitude. You go in there and say, all right, hey, what's up? How you doing? What are your goals? What's going on? And just, hey, man, that's great. Where were you? Where are you going? What's going on? Understand the situation. Get to know that person. And that's why I think a lot of stuff about coaching, I talked about online coaching the other day. That's why I support too, right? That's why it's tough online, is because I don't think a lot of those relationships get formed that you can form way better in real life. But anyhow, just, saying, hey, when you see someone out there and they're posting their stuff on the interwebs and, they're benching 185, 135. I put up videos on TikTok and YouTube of me benching 135, and that's my top weight for the day. It looks weak. But I'm going to tell you what, that's sometimes the best I can do for the day, given the condition the shoulder's in. So you know we need to withhold judgment of other folks when they're putting videos up on the internet, because you don't know what the situation is. Just be like, hey, cool, man, good job, you're doing the thing. Just like people in life, they're out there, they're grinding, they're getting stuff done. You just say, hey, man, thanks for doing the thing. You're doing great. If we all did that, I think things would be a lot better. Anyhow, with that, happy hump day. Happy pump day. Happy Wednesday. Feliz miércoles. Feliz quarta-feira. Espero que você tenha um ótimo dia. Hope you have a great day. Until next time. Don't forget, get into those gyms, hit those goals, and get swole. Peace.